Good morning everybody, Ken Ring of www.predictweather.com, and it's the 22nd of April. Well, the Iceland volcano has settled down, which even more goes to show that it was associated with the new moon in the first place, because it erupted on the new moon, and ever since then it has started to decline in its intensity. Funny how none of the media have picked up on the moon at all. You won't have seen the moon mentioned alongside the Iceland volcano anywhere in any media reports. I've been asked why the global warmers have not been making a big fuss over this one, but I see some global warming people are trying to say that it was because of global warming. I think they're actually all in hiding at the moment, global warmers, because they've been busted, really, over these ClimateGate leaked email scandals. But no, there's no way that global warming is going to create a volcano. They're looking at it in reverse. It's like saying the surfers on the surfboards actually create the surf waves, or like the wet rain on the pavement actually creates the rain, as somebody has pointed out. So no, it's not going to happen in that way. How much carbon dioxide has actually come out of the Iceland volcano? Well, we don't know yet because it's still going. Mount Pinatubo in 1991, June the 12th, spewed forth 42 million tonnes of carbon dioxide, apparently. Although I've no idea how they measure these things, because they aren't there with their measuring instruments as soon as the volcanoes erupt. How do they know to be there? Because a volcano is going to come along. Anyway, this Iceland one isn't as big as Pinatubo, and don't forget that 95% of all volcanoes are under the sea. So this Iceland one is very much a drop in the bucket type of event. So what's happening around the place? Well, this rain is coming for New Zealand about Friday. I think the South Island will get affected first. It'll creep onto the North Island. And by Sunday, I think there'll be a lot of rain over a lot of the North Island, stretching into Monday. And it's all about 3 days late, because I was actually expecting it now, but it did get held up in the Tasman Sea by a big high pressure system. New South Wales is looking fairly healthy as they come out of a drought, and it's going to be for the first time in 9 years, according to a report that I just read. Well, that's interesting, because that's a half-tide moon cycle, 9 years, but it's a good example of what happens. If you read some of the other articles on my website, you'll see I mention this 9-year period quite often, because every 9 years you do get either a drought in the same place, or you get a drought relief in the same place, you get a weather pattern repeating. It seems to happen so often, that it's almost a law. I remember in question time, after a workshop I gave a few years ago now, it was in Shepparton at a farmers' conference, Shepparton, Australia, and it was just before the lunch hour. And this guy put up his hand and he said, "Why is it that you always get heavy rains at the end of a drought?" And I thought, well, I said, "Oh, thanks. Gee, I don't know. I'll have to think about that one over the break." But you're right. Yes, you do. I've noticed that myself, which I had. And so I started to think about it over the break, and I couldn't think. Why? Because that question had never occurred to me before. And then suddenly it struck me why. And I'll tell you at the end of this blog. I'll let you sweat a bit over that one. So where's our moon? Well, it's coming up. It's going to be there it is there. It's going to be in Leo later today, and in 3 days' time it'll be crossing the equator, heading south, and that'll be halfway up in the sky, between the lowest point that it gets at the moment, this time of its cycle, and the highest point being the southern declination, which will be on May the 2nd. So it'll be crossing the equator. It'll be the same day as the perigee. That'll be the 25th, so there'll be some good winds arriving within a few days in all sorts of places where the wind can get a good run and work itself up. And I'm talking about the southwest of New Zealand, around Fiordland and Westland there, Another place would be the southwest of Tasmania, where the wind can come under the Australian Bight and work itself up over a couple of thousand miles, because that's what happens for New Zealand. The Tasman Sea is out there. And another place would be the south coast of Western Australia, because the winds are coming across the Indian Ocean, nothing to stop them. And boom, bang, it hits the western coast there. So any place that's on a western coast, and that includes northern hemisphere places as well, they'll probably get some winds coming along in a few days' time. So why it's heavy rains at the end of a drought? See, you've been thinking about it all this time. Well, the answer is very simple, because that's what defines the end of a drought, of course. You don't get it pouring down and people still saying, oh gee, when's it going to rain? When's this drought going to end? But sometimes the simple answers are there for the most complex of questions, and they catch you out. Another time someone said to me, I was in a global warming discussion, and they said, oh, if global warming isn't happening, then tell me, why is Antarctica melting at the edges? And I thought, yeah, that's right, it is melting at the edges. So, he's got me on that one. And I went away and thought about that, and then I realised, well, the answer's really obvious to this one, because that's what edges are. It's got to be melting there. There has to be a place where the sea meets the land, otherwise the ice is just going to keep on going all around the rest of the world. It'll be at my back door here. So it's a lot of fun, all this. Another guy said to me, why is it that weather in Antarctica, the worst weather in Antarctica, always comes from the north? There was another one that got me for about a second, because I was onto that. I'll ask you that. Why is it that all the worst weather in Antarctica comes from the north? The answer, of course, is that all the weather comes from the north, because there is no south. Antarctica is the southernmost point from wherever you go, you're going north. Duh. So it's a good one to try on your kids. And it's a lot of fun, this business. They will keep you on your toes. Cheers, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching.